Ice, the most important word you need to hear right now, ice. Icy roads after snow switch to freezing rain. As ice builds up, trees and power lines are at risk. Ice brings down danger to the triad. We are on top of it to keep you safe.
It started as snow, a dusting in Greensboro, inches elsewhere.
Within hours, dozens of crashes, and the number keeps growing.
And we're just getting started. Ice continues to build tonight on roads, power lines, trees, and homes.
Snow, sleet, freezing rain, ice. What you need to know right now to be safe. WFMY News 2 at 11 is new and now.
Dude, my IB is so...
Well, you can see Frank right there. He is live in Greensboro, and he is in the thick of it all. The roads, you can see, messy, dangerous, and you can hear the sleet falling. Most schools are already closed for tomorrow. Guilford, Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, and ALAMANCE Burlington schools. You can see all the closing scrolling on the bottom of your screen right now. But let's first go to our chief meteorologist, Grant Gilmore, live in the Weather Garden with a look at what is developing right now.
I'll tell you what, Julie, it's been sleet through a good majority of the night. I'm going to have our camera operator zoom out a little bit and come down here with me. I want to show you what we have out here. It looks like snow, but literally a lot of sleet accumulating out here. I mean, it's nothing that you can really have a lot of fun with. You're not going to be making any sleet balls or snowballs or whatever the case, but certainly still something that we're tracking. We have had some snow accumulations across the area. Have a look. Martinsville reporting in with 6 inches of snow. Eden at 4.5. Pine Hall right there around 3 inches. You head down the list. Greensboro was a ½ inch of snow before it changed over to sleet. Live look at the radar now. We're finding sleet and even some freezing rain trying to develop over the southern Piedmont through Montgomery County. A few reports of freezing rain, but mostly sleet across the triad. A pretty steady sleet out here in the Weather Garden right now. Still some snow mixing in with that sleet over the mountains and foothills. Mountain area right now seeing a good burst of some heavy precipitation. Again, it's hard to say just by looking at the radar of exactly what we see, but we still have a decent more amount of this precipitation to move in as we go into the overnight hours. We're expecting this wintry mix, anything from sleet in the triad to even some freezing rain, which could result in some ice accumulations. We're going to go into tomorrow morning, though. That precipitation tapers off, and we will see that sunshine return as we head into the afternoon. We're still thinking up to 2 inches of a snow sleet accumulation possible in the triad. Areas up towards the Virginia border could see up to 6 inches of snow. It is just a nasty icy mix to the south. We're expecting the freezing rain to take over as we go into the overnight hours, and that could result up to around a 1/4 inch of ice accumulation, especially on trees and power lines. Could be a problem with power outages as we go into tomorrow morning.
We certainly have a lot to cover in this newscast. Thank you, Grant. So Frank drove from the WFMY News 2 studios to his location in Greensboro. So Frank, describe what you saw when you took the drive out there.
It's certainly not snow, Julie, I'll tell you that much. We got the snow earlier today, but the roads right now are icy. They are not slushy as you would expect if you got just snow. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about standing here on this surface. This is a parking lot. This is undisturbed. You notice how dusty that looks down here? That's because this is all small pellets of ice. You can even see the little pellets in my glove right here. And at the very bottom is a sheet of ice, and it's caking on there, and the roadways are pretty much the same. I just talked to Mike May with the city of Greensboro. They're not even plowing right now. They're using salt to try to get this to break up, and they say the salt is not working yet because the temperatures are just not warm enough. They're hoping that because of the sun and some of the traffic getting back on the roads in the morning, they'll begin to see some of this ice break up, and then they can get to the plowing and get some of these priority 1 and 2 roads taken care of. They say do not expect to see a plow in your neighborhood before Thursday morning and maybe even after that. So with that, we're going to talk about some of the road conditions elsewhere. WFMY News 2's Emily Spain was in Rockingham County, and they got plenty of snow today. And you were in Forsyth County. You went even farther north. So Emily, talk about what you saw as you were driving here and there.
Yeah, I was all over the Piedmont Triad today. Let's take a look at the highway. I'm actually on 52 South right now, north of Winston-Salem near King. And I'll tell you what the road...
And we do We apologize. Obviously, we're having some technical difficulties there. We'll try to check in with Emily again later in this newscast. Well, Governor Pat McCrory issued a state of emergency hours before the first flakes fell in the Triad, and here's why. It mobilizes the necessary resources to respond to a storm. It's also the first step to get federal funds to help pay for storm-related costs.
Our DOT has been out since yesterday preparing the roads. And last year, I also instructed the Highway Patrol not to leave any vehicles untouched and ensure that no one spends the night on the roads. And I'm making the same order this year, especially given the very, very cold temperatures that are in our state.
Our meteorologist, Tim Buckley, he's been looking at several models and possibilities for what we could see tonight. And while we're getting some snow in the north, Tim, we are concerned about ice in the south.
Yeah, for sure, Julie. And we're kind of trying to make the distinction between where the sleet is most likely and where the freezing rain is most likely from here on out. We're looking here at the north right now with mainly sleet. We've seen that in Winston-Salem. We've seen that in Greensboro. Mostly to the north of that, we've actually still seen a lot of snow from Martinsville, Virginia, over toward the Virginia border. Farther south, right here below this line, that's where I'm most concerned about freezing rain from here on out. So if you are watching from Randolph County, icing a big concern there. You have friends and family in Raleigh, icing a huge concern there, and Charlotte too, big concerns for freezing rain, and that's the big one that can really cause the power outages and maybe some of those downed trees as well. So if you're south of this line, a bigger threat for icing for you. You know, I wanted to show this map as well. We were talking about our snow totals ended up being lower than expected. We showed this graphic on WFMY News 2 at 11 last night. Here were our snow forecast totals. We mentioned if the shift was just a little bit to the north that our totals would look something like this. This is exactly how the totals are shaping up across the area now. 1 to 2 inches across the Triad, much more farther north. Because we had the warmer air, that's what happened.
Well, we have hundreds of closings and delays reported right now. Here's a live look from our WFMY News 2 Skycam network. Conditions in Greensboro and Winston-Salem right now, you can imagine, extremely cold, bone-chilling cold. Guilford County Schools, Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, and Alamance Burlington Schools are all closed for tomorrow, and that's just the beginning of the list. You can see the full list scrolling right now on your screen. You can also see the full closings and delays list on our website, WFMYnews2.com, in the breaking news bar. You can see it in red. The radar is still showing sleet, but it was completely different compared to earlier this afternoon. Snowflakes flying everywhere. And the snowy situation slowed cars traveling home, which delayed drivers, including our WFMY News 2's Tony Smith, who drove between Winston and Greensboro. What a drive, Tony.
Julie, I saw the snow start, I saw it turned into sleet, and I saw a few accidents along the way.
We're now starting to get a few in Guilford, so it is ramping up.
A sea of red brake lights on Interstate 40 near 68 in Guilford County. Police say a driver lost control of the SUV, stopping traffic westbound.
Most of our wrecks that are associated with weather are going to be from speed. People are not maintaining a lower speed than the speed limit.
It took drivers, including me, about an hour to navigate through this mess. In total, Greensboro police were called out to about 80 weather-related accidents in less than 5 hours.
This is going to be a tricky storm for us.
But once in Winston-Salem,
but everything's good out here. I ain't seen a lot. I haven't seen no accidents. People just taking their time.
Reginald Miller says he had a pretty smooth but slow ride to the Twin Cities.
Took my time. I got here, got to get gas before I go home. Hopefully I ain't got to work tonight.
A spokesperson with the Winston-Salem Department of Transportation told me crews were only called out to one wreck, and it was because of speed, something Miller says he doesn't do anymore.
I'm a good snow driver now since I had a wreck last year. I had a wreck last year in the snow speeding, so I slow up now.
Now, crews in both cities tell me that they will continue to salt the roads throughout the night, and they will try to get to as many spots as possible. They're just asking for a little patience from you at home. Frank?
Well, in Alamance County, it's been a quiet night. A lot of people got home from work and pretty much stayed inside, as was instructed by a lot of the road experts out there. WFMY News 2's Ben Powell is live in Burlington, and Ben, preparations underway for the morning commute already.
That's right, Frank. Certainly a frigid night here in Burlington as the freezing rain and sleet continues to fall at this hour. It's been like this for upwards of 7 hours now, and at this point, the roads and highways are starting to ice over, which means that tomorrow morning's commute will be much more dangerous.
A solid layer of ice and snow covers the roadways in Burlington, making it tough for drivers to get where they need to go.
Anytime you see something that, even if it starts to ice over, if it looks a little wet, you need to assume that it's ice, it's not just a wet spot.
While some are working to keep us safe, others are taking time off to enjoy the winter weather.
Freezing. I can't feel my nose.
Sam Parsons and Paige Harrell went snow tubing.
We bundled up. We saw that it was snowing, so we decided to come out here and bring out the old tube in the basement and go for a sled in the freezing cold.
Meanwhile, emergency crews across the county are on standby to handle problems as they come up.
Just drive with care, just slow your speed down, and especially when you see these DOT trucks and graders out there, they're out there for a reason. You need to realize that and don't try to pass them, or they're out there to help you out. And
our time frame then for problems will start around 6 a.m. tomorrow morning if people are trying to get out and move.
DOT crews have extra workers on standby working around the clock, along with extra trucks too, to respond to any major mishaps as they come up. Meanwhile, the Sheriff's Office and Burlington Police Department, they have all their preparations in place to respond to accidents as they come up as well. Frank?
And road crews have been preparing for this. In fact, for days, it was all hands on deck. When we went to check out how things were going in Greensboro ahead of all the ice and the snow, that meant there 42 trucks, plows, and loads of salt.
Please go ahead and return home as early as possible. Get off the road as quickly as you can this afternoon and evening so that our drivers and the emergency service folks that have to respond can do their job safely and efficiently.
Officials from EMS and the street crews are working overnight. In fact, the second shift just started a few hours ago at 9 p.m. They'll be in until 9 a.m. And the plan is to be on the roads and working this thing until the storm is over. And again, the winter storm warning lasts until tomorrow morning, Julie.
Right, they certainly have a lot of work to do. So let's take another look outside right now. You can see not a lot of people on the roads, which makes it easier for state and city crews to do their jobs, and that's to plow and salt and scrape the roads. Others are on standby tonight, just in case you need them, and we are talking about tow truck drivers.
On a regular snow day, if it's like a full day, probably tomorrow, I'll end up probably 18 to 20 calls a day.
That's busy. The best advice, slow down and make sure you have supplies in your car in case you do break down. So which roads get plowed or treated for ice first? We all want to know that. So 2 Wants to Know looked into this, and the DOT has a set snow and ice removal process in place. Here it is. The North Carolina Department of Transportation plows the following roads known as bare pavement routes. First, 1 interstates, 2 4-lane divided highways, 3 other routes essential to moving traffic. After that, crews focus on these roads. Number 4, secondary roads and streets, and 5, neighborhoods. Neighborhoods will probably not see a salt truck till maybe tomorrow, or possibly even later than that. So we've received plenty of pictures and posts online. Lots of you shared your photos on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag #GotSnow. Just looking at a few right now, and here are some. Take a look at this one from Mandan. A little sledding action going on. And we got this one earlier today from Stokes County. Karen saw some snow on her horse. And here's a look at the roads as they got messy in Brown Summit. Make sure you send your pictures to us while staying safe while you take them. You can share them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also email them to us at news@WFMY.com. Well, check out this picture from the Charlotte area. Our sister station, WCNC, tweeted this out. At one point, the I-77 South flyover at I-485 closed, leaving about 20 cars stuck on the road. Look at that mess. Overall, dozens of crashes because of icy conditions blocked several major roads in the Charlotte area.
Well, North Carolina has been under a state of emergency for the last 12 hours. That was declared by Governor Pat McCrory. The most significant snow totals were in the mountains. Take a look at all the snow that fell in Boone, a lot even for their standards. As the storm made its way across the state, Charlotte is expecting a whole lot more ice. Freezing rain has already pounded much of the city tonight, making for some treacherous driving conditions. The big concern across most of the state is ice overnight. Highway Patrol has already investigated more than 1,000 wrecks, and that was since midnight. And the same winter storm that hit us is leaving a mark really across the country. We're going to show you several parts of Oklahoma, in fact, were under a winter storm warning there. The state saw freezing rain, sleet, and several inches of snow. The heavy snow backed up the morning commute and caused at least 9 wrecks there. Kentucky got its biggest snowfall in 17 years. Most of the central part of the state got up to 15 inches of snow. Even more snow showers are expected there tomorrow and Wednesday. Ice and snow created some hazardous driving in Tennessee. Up to 4 inches fell in parts of Tennessee. A winter storm warning is in effect there through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
The blast of winter weather can also be found to our north. A deep freeze slammed the northeast with wind chills, dropping temperatures to 20 below. In Philadelphia, frigid temperatures turned a 3-story building into an ice castle after firefighters turned their hoses on a fire. And check out Boston. Beantown got another 16 inches of snow over the weekend, bringing the city's snow total to about 7 feet in the last 3 weeks. So Grant, when you see pictures like that, we certainly can't complain, but you know what, Grant, we are still not out of the woods tonight.
Oh, absolutely not, by no stretch of the imagination. It's a heavy sleet out here in the weather garden right now. I was just trying to catch some in my hands to try to look at this stuff, and it's so hard because it falls into my gloves and it just bounces out, and that seems to be true across most of the area, getting pretty moderate sleet with some snow to the north, but mostly sleet. Have a look at the radar now, finding a good swath of that moisture streaming all the way back into the deep south, into the panhandle of Florida. But for us here in the Triad, it is a heavy sleet in the immediate Triad. Areas south finding sleet mixing with some freezing rain and even some sleet mixing with some snow to the north towards the Virginia border. We'll pause the radar here, have a look. There's that heavier batch of that sleet that we're finding right here in Greensboro right now. That extends up into Rockingham County towards the Reedsville area. Again, mixing with some snow more into southern Virginia. This is a wintry mix. When we talk about a wintry mix, this is what it is. And this is a cold wintry mix. We have only moved within 5 degrees over the last 24 hours. We warmed into the mid-20s right before the precipitation moved in. Since then, we've been in the upper teens to around 20 degrees. And that's where we are right now. 19 degrees across the Triad, 18 degrees in Wilkesboro. But let's talk about where we go from here. I think it's pretty much sleet, maybe a couple of snowflakes to the north. But areas to the south are probably going to find some freezing rain accumulating as we head through early tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about totals in a second, but the good news is the precipitation pretty much ends as we head towards sunrise, and with that, the clouds will clear out, and we will see that sun return, so that will help melt things. But we're not going to get a lot of relief from that as temperatures stay very cold through the rest of the week. So temperatures, don't pay attention to that. I think they actually do hang out near 20 degrees through the overnight hours. We will see that precipitation taper off through around sunrise, and then the sunshine comes out, and we'll try to clear the roads, but we're not going to get much of that melting because temperatures will remain probably below freezing through most of the day tomorrow. What we see totals in terms of, we'll call this snow and sleet, trace maybe up to 2 inches across the immediate Triad, up towards the Virginia border, closer to that 6-inch totals, but areas south, it is going to be a sleet, maybe some of that snow from earlier on, but definitely a concern for freezing rain, potentially up to 1/4 inch of that ice or freezing rain through southern Randolph County into Montgomery County, and maybe up to 1/10 as we transition over to some periods of freezing rain as we go into the overnight. The real concern with ice doesn't really start to pick up until you get between 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, so I think we won't quite be into the real heightened awareness and concern level, but when you get up to 1/4 inch of ice, you could see a couple of power outages. Tonight, temperatures stay near 19. Sleet and freezing rain continues. The roads will worsen overnight as we just get more and more ice piling up. Wintry mix early and then clearing out after the sunrise. Have a look at your temperatures for the rest of the week. Cold. High temperatures only in the low and mid-20s with low temperatures through Thursday and Friday in the single digits.
But we always have the latest weather conditions, alerts, and closings for you, and you can take them with you wherever you go, anytime. Make sure you download the WFMY News 2 app. It is free. Check it out on WFMYnews2.com. You can also get winter storm updates throughout the night right to your phone. You can sign up for text alerts to get the latest school closings and delays. It's really easy to do. All you have to do is sign up on our website.
And getting ready for the snow and the freezing rain and sleet meant a mad dash to the grocery store, and you know what that meant. A lot of empty shelves, and you can probably guess what was missing. We're going to show you. Check out the shelves at this Walmart in Burlington. This is what Gary Grumbach found last night. Forget about trying to get some bread, even some juice. Luckily, a little of milk left behind might not be there right now. Snow or ice, though, it takes salt to keep the traffic moving safely. Before the snow started falling, the State Department of Transportation had nearly 50 trucks out on the roads, laying down more than 13 million gallons of salt and brine on the state roadways. A lot of those trucks are out tonight putting down salt, sand, and waiting until that salt and sand really gets to work before they start clearing the roads, maybe in the morning.
So with sleet and freezing rain falling from the sky and ice on the roads, here are some things you can do tonight that you will get prepared for whatever you might wake up to in the morning. Make sure you unplug anything you have in outlets if by chance you happen to lose power. A surge when the power returns could damage your electronics. And as for your car, if you park it outside, leave your windshield wipers lifted overnight. Also put plastic bags over your mirrors to keep ice from forming on them. And if you hit black ice or any icy patches on the road in the morning, ease your foot off the gas pedal and keep steering in the direction you want your car to head. Let's check back in with WFMY News 2's Emily Spain, and Emily crews will continue to work throughout the night on clearing the roads.
Yeah, and they got some work to do. There's a lot of snow-covered roads out here. I've traveled all the way from around Reedsville and Eden over to King and the northern portions of Forsyth County. All the roads look the same. I-40, US 29, and now we're on US 52, completely snow-covered. We've seen sleet, we've seen freezing rain, we've seen snow, we've seen it all across the Triad, and we're taking it slow, only going about 20 to 30 miles per hour out here, because like I said, you can't even see the blacktop. We'll send it back to you.
Please be safe out there, Emily. Well, we're still getting a ton of pictures and tweets. Ice reports coming in from our weather spotters. And here, let's take a look. A live look at Wake Forest University's webcam of the quad tonight. The snow and the ice all lit up. Looks really, really pretty, but beware of the beauty because that stuff certainly is slippery. Well, as the system continues to move through the area, we'd like to see more of your pictures. You can post them on our Facebook page, on Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag #GotSnow.
Well, as if all this snow, sleet, freezing rain wasn't enough, we're not warming up after it. All this polar air. In fact, I think it's the coldest air of the winter season moving in later on this week. It is going to come into the Triad. Coming up, we let you know how long it sticks around and how cold it is.